So good morning. Sitting and talking makes me a little uncomfortable. I'm always used to standing and talking, but good that I've got this opportunity. I'll utilize it. And maybe it's a new beginning to sit and talk. First and foremost, before I go ahead, I would like to know which language is everybody comfortable in? English, a bit of Hindi and okay, right. Okay, so also before beginning the session, I would like to ask these gentlemen standing here, how many of y'all are married?
Unfortunately, all.
Okay, and how many of y'all have daughters?
I have a daughter.
So
All of y'all have. Wonderful.
the chemical industry has more daughters than sons. I don't know why.
Yeah?
It's true. It's
Yeah.
very
And colleagues also.
It's amazing. I don't know why, but it's true.
Wow, that's great. Does it have any connection with the pharmaceutical industry also? Because my father worked in a legal capacity with a lot of pharmaceutical company and we were all daughters. So that's why I asked. Okay, so let me begin this session by wishing each one of you a very happy International Women's Day. And also it applies to men because you may not want to celebrate for yourself, but you'll want to celebrate for your mothers, your sisters, your wives, and your daughters, definitely. So let us all forget the differences, gender differences, and celebrate this Women's Day together. And that's why I was very happy when she said, we have gentlemen also who will be joining us. I said, great, that's the idea. Okay. So before I really dwell into or get into the legal aspects of, or the legal aspects of or the rights that the women have, let us first understand basically, and when I'm going to speak over here, I by no means want to sound as if I am very learned and everybody else is not. It is just that we are all collectively thinking within, introspecting when we are talking something and then realizing ki हाँ ये ऐसा है. So before we get into all of that, I just wanted to have a little bit of conversation about how women are different than men, and why is there so much of hype around Women's Day and women empowerment and women this and women rights and women that. But it is there. So each one of us are dealing with it. So let us understand why that is really required. What is it that makes it so crucial for us to actually have this kind of forums, this kind of day celebrated and all of that. So biologically, if we all know, God has made a man and a woman different. Okay. Women has a privilege of reproducing kids, of course, which is in all species, not just man, but even in all kind of living beings. But of course, that would not have been possible if it was not complemented by a man. So again, it goes hand in hand, but she has a major responsibility of giving birth to a child. This privilege also gives her certain underprivileges or certain disadvantages, which we all know about. And that is why at times she is referred to as a weaker section of the human fraternity. Of course, these days, words like weaker section and all of that, they become very offensive and people don't talk about them. But see, biologically, what is there is there. You cannot really do anything about it. The creator of the world has made it that way. But again, it is made that way in order to balance, have an equilibrium. So that is the reason why this is happening. And because of certain disadvantages that women then had, there was a necessity to have certain rights given to her forcefully, because the society was not really accepting to give those rights. And then it was considered that, okay, if she is made for certain things, that is give birth, nurture kids, look after them, look after the kitchen, then why give her any other kind of privileges? But over the period, society started evolving and women also started getting educated, and then they also started becoming ambitious, and all of those things started. And that's the reason why then certain advantages were given to women, not just in our country, but all over the world. Because evolution started everywhere. It is not that, in America people were born as human and here we were born as monkeys. It was everywhere. So those things started, and that's how all this so much hype around women empowerment and women equality and all these things started. So now we are we are fairly dealing with this. And today's generation, when we speak about rights for women or women empowerment, nobody is taken aback. People are like, yes, they deserve it, they need it. So that's how actually, because of this women and men and all these things being different, these rights, certain rights were something that were required. Women are different biologically in other ways also. I don't know how many of you all know, but I was just researching and I found out that the retina of a man and a retina of a woman is different. It's different. The retina of a man is thicker than a retina of a woman. And that's the reason why they say, these are all research-based statements that I'm making over here. That is why they say that women look differently, see differently from how a man would see. It is also said that a girl baby will then like to look at faces, and a male baby will like to look at moving objects. So now we know why girls like dolls and boys like cars. Normally, I don't know whether several years back when all this started, when all these toys were made and all of that, whether people also had a study of this at that point of time. But how beautifully it is, like anybody who gifts a girl will gift with a doll, and anybody who gives any gift to a boy will gift him with a car. So these differences are there basically from the beginning of the world. Now, how to balance them is in our hands, and for that we also have certain laws that help us, certain rights that give us. Not that everybody requires to run to the law or run for rights to get them. Certain people are blessed to have good people around them. And when I say good people around them, good male around them. In fact, this morning when I did one program on Women's Day on the 3rd of March, and that day also I mentioned that we should forget all these differences and we should be celebrating this together. And also, it is not always that we point fingers at the men and say that, they are the culprits. It's not that. Very often it's a woman who's pulling a woman down also. In fact, I quoted one example there which I would like to share. We speak about, we are facing so many things like, rapes going on here and there and all of that. And then people start saying that these boys are, I don't know, how can they do such a thing with a girl? Don't they have mothers and sisters and all of them at home? And so finally, who's raising these boys at home? It's the mothers, who's the lady again. And where are these rapes and all happening? Not so much in the metros as much as, maybe in rural areas and all that. And what are the boys seeing from the time they're born? From the time they're born, they're seeing that their mother is getting harassed by the mother-in-law and the sister-in-law. Tomorrow, when the mother becomes big, she's also harassing the mother, her daughter-in-law, and things like that. Men don't really have the time, right? Men are all busy earning money outside. So very often, it is the women who are actually victimizing women. It is the women who are actually doing wrong to the women. So we have to now start forgetting the gender biases. So that's why I was just mentioning to somebody in the morning, I said we can think about this having, forgetting the gender differences and coming together, because perhaps we have the best men in our lives. Men who respect us, men who respect other women. So it is our responsibility as women. I strongly believe it's our responsibility that we should train our boys in a different way. They have to be looking at a different atmosphere right from the house, from school, from office, everywhere. I don't know how many of you all have heard of or seen this play called Vagina Monologues. Vagina Monologues is a play which talks about the biological features of a woman, and it is done by 4 women and it's really done very beautifully. When I came out of the theatre, I made first call to my son. I said, please go and watch this play. Of course, he's a doctor and he aims to become a gynecologist and all that, so it's a different story for him. But irrespective of that, it is us who have to start giving these kind of lessons to the boys, and that's how the society is going to change. So like I was saying, biologically also we are made different, and that is the reason why certain differences are going to remain, which we have to accept. And each one has to accept. Even the lady has to accept that yes, this will always be my weak point, and I have to accept it and I have to move ahead in life. the men also likewise have to accept that, yes, or they have to be sensitive towards these aspects of a woman. And that is why, in order to give certain more privileges to women because of whatever her being of a weaker section or whatever, that is how laws started getting evolved around women rights and all that things. We will never really hear laws in particular for a man. Laws in particular for a man are common laws, which are for everybody, for a man and a woman. It is for a man as a human being. But we speak about a lot of rights which are for, particularly for women, lot of laws that are also now coming, which are for women. There are certain acts which are there for women, and certain cases there are certain sections that are incorporated in certain laws which are mainly focused or revolving around women. A little background about law, if we see, there would be more than around 700 of laws in India prevailing, or even more than that. There is yet not a proper count of how many laws are there. The first law was introduced in 1833, and in 1833 the Government of India Act was introduced. And ever since then, there is evolution, and laws are coming in that data bank. They're being added every year, alternate years, or in a year at least even 2 or 3. The latest law that was enacted for India was the Indian Institute of Petroleum and Energy Act 2017. And then there are so many amendments that keep happening to various laws. Okay, so like, if we speak about, which we are going to speak about, the Maternity Benefits Act, it was introduced in 1961. It has seen a lot of amendments, and the latest amendment that it saw was in 2017. So likewise, there are several things which several laws, and hence that's the reason why I said one individual sitting here, that too for an hour, will not be really able to cover everything in details. But at least if we understand today what are some of the things that are important for us to know, just necessary for us to know, I think we are sorted for the a day. Okay, so let me now move on to certain laws, rights and acts that a girl has got as a privilege because she is a born female. I would be going from, so this is what I'm going to talk about now is it's in the complete life cycle of a girl or a woman. What are some of the rights that she requires, or what are some of the rights that she should be aware about? Okay, let me just start on my presentation and keep just for this thing so that I don't miss out on anything. Okay. So, when we speak about when a girl is born, the first thing she needs is, of course, apart from the fact that she needs her mother and her mother's milk, this, that and the other, she needs to be educated. So, right to education is the first thing that has been given to her very beautifully by the Constitution of India. She has the right to education, equal right to education like a boy has. No school unless the school is, there are certain schools which are only for boys and only for girls for certain different things. But it is not that a girl will be denied education anywhere. She has to get educated, she has right to take all sort of educations. In fact, there would be boys who would not be allowed to take some type of education. Like, for instance, a mammography technician is always a lady. A boy will not be able to become a mammography technician. So when we are going to speak about the disadvantages of something, we should also understand that we have certain privileges which we should also appreciate. So a lady would be a boy would never be a mammography technician, but a lady would be a mammography technician. So the first right that a woman would have or a girl would have is a right to education, which like I said is given to her by the Constitution of India. As the girl starts growing up and as her body starts getting formed, and sometimes even that body forming is not really necessary for certain category of men. We have also heard of rapes happening on a 6-month-old girl and a 3 years old girl and a 4 years old girl. But typically, when the girl starts becoming, she gets into her adolescence and puberty and all of that, one challenge that a girl faces, and which is really very sad, is eve teasing. Have you all heard about eve teasing? Do we all know what eve teasing means? रास्ते पर लड़की चल रही है, यहाँ से कुछ रिमार्क आ रहा है, वहाँ से कोई कुछ बोल रहा है, वहाँ से कोई आंख मार के जा रहा है, वहाँ से कोई धक्का मार के जा रहा है. All this amounts to eve teasing. Now, if we look at any particular law, eve teasing as a term is not incorporated in any section as such. But the Indian Penal Code has certain sections which in which all these acts which would come under eve teasing are taken care of. So section 354 of the Indian Penal Code, it talks about the punishments that are there for different acts that are done by a man to a woman. Okay. So 354 speaks about sexual harassment to a woman. Now, sexual harassment to a woman, when we're speaking from the Indian Penal Code perspective, it is in general sexual harassment anywhere. Now, we are going to also speak about sexual harassment to a woman at workplace, which is, handled by a separate act by itself. Okay. So here, when we are talking about sexual harassment under the Indian Penal Code, section 354A, it is for a woman anywhere. ट्रेन में किसी ने कुछ किया, दिस कैन बी एप्लीकेबल. सोसाइटी में, बिल्डिंग में किसी ने कुछ किया, बोला, रास्ते पर, कॉलेज में, कहीं पर, दिस इज एप्लीकेबल. बिफोर आई मूव अहेड and talk about this more in detail, one request to all women and all our girls outside also. Just because law has given us these privileges, we should not take disadvantage and make a wrong use of this against the male fraternity. We also have men and boys at home. In fact, when this Me Too movement was happening, I have made a video and I have shared certain things about how I am more worried about my son than my daughter. I have made this video and I have put it on YouTube and all of that because my daughter, I can tell her that, okay, if somebody is teasing you on the road, just ignore, put your head down and walk. कुछ भी उसमें ईगो का सवाल नहीं है. Don't get into all this rut because उनकी लेवल ही नहीं है कि तुम उनको कुछ बैक आंसर करो या कुछ भी करो. You walk. But for my son, I'm so worried कि उसका गलती से भी कहीं किसी को धक्का लग जाए तो उसके साथ कुछ भी हो सकता है. So I'm always very, even when he makes friends in colleges, school, when he was in school, colleges and all of that, I used to always be very this thing about, Baba, संभल के, because जितना मिलता है ना उसका फिर देन डिसएडवांटेज लेने के लिए भी लोग तैयार हो जाते हैं. So when we are talking about all of this, let us really pledge today here as women that although we have all these rights and privileges, we are never going to misuse it against anybody's disadvantage. So when we speak about 554A, it talks about, like I said, sexual harassment anywhere. Now, what is sexual harassment and all of that? We're going to do it in detail in the POSH, that is Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act. So here I'm not really, going to define all of that, and this is going to be too complicated, and it is not going to make any sense doing that. So 554 talks about that. 554C talks about voyeurism. Have you heard of this word, voyeurism? So voyeurism is basically, seeing, making wrong pictures of women, and showing her some dirty films and all those. Sometimes jabardasti, it happens. We may have not gone through all of this, but there are people who send real dirty videos to women, and just with the intention to sexually harass her, mentally harass her. Mental harassment of this kind also comes under sexual harassment. Okay, so what are the punishments for all of this? That also I will be telling you all. So that is there, and then go back to another slide of mine. Just give me 1 minute, I will. Okay. So you're there. 554A, sexual harassment. When we speak about sexual harassment, then it's punishable by rigorous imprisonment for a term of 3 years. Rigorous imprisonment समझता है ना? खड़ी फोड़ने के लिए भेजते हैं ना? That is rigorous imprisonment and with fine and with both of that. Then there is section 354B, assault or use of criminal force to women with intent to disrobe. Understand the meaning of the word disrobe? To remove her clothes. If that offense is there, that is dealt with by 354B. 354C is voyeurism, as I said, which means watching or capturing the image of a woman engaging a private act in circumstances where she would usually have the expectation of not being observed. You go to the washroom and then you see there's a camera somewhere or there's some hole somewhere. Through that hole somebody is watching you and all of that. That is the act. Okay, so all these things are punishable with at least 7 years. Some of them are rigorous imprisonment, some of them are simple imprisonment, 3 years, 7 years, and all of that. All you have to do is you have to go and make a police complaint first and make an FIR. After which the parties will be called, summoned. Then it will go in a matter of a complaint to the magistrate, and the magistrate will then call both the parties, and then they will listen to the matter. So it's a huge process that happens, but all this happens. Very recently, there was another section that was introduced in Indian Penal Code under 354. 354D, which is stalking. You all understand the word stalking? इंटरनेट पर कितने लोगों को स्टॉक करते हो यहाँ पे? मैं तो बहुत लोगों को स्टॉक करती हूँ इंटरनेट पर. But we stalk with the intention of just understanding यार कौन कुछ क्या कर रहा है कॉलेज में. अरे हमारे साथ वो था, अब देखते हैं क्या करता है. किंवा ती सध्या काय करते मराठी मूवी people would have seen it with that intention. So there are people who stalk with an intention of hurting someone. So stalking is something is introduced as section 354D in the Indian Penal Code. Now, stalking is, going after a woman till her house, till her college, coming and knocking at her door every day, following her everywhere, or also stalking her on technology, calling her, giving missed calls. That's also all stalking. Okay, so all that comes under this section of stalking. So this is also an offence which is punishable under the Indian Penal Code. Okay. So we spoke about eve teasing and stalking. The next we're going to talk about is rape. How many of us know what are the consequences of rape? There are legal consequences, and these days, as we have seen, it is becoming so much. It is not that in these days rapes are happening. Rapes must be happening in I don't know how many years since since the first lady was born, it must have happened. Okay. But now people have become a little vocal about things. People have started coming out and talking about things. Okay? Or there are also women right association who are, who are helping women come out of this trauma and then, make seeing to it that the guilty is punished and all of that. But again, we see that it's a long process. Sometimes people get frustrated, and then, there are certain cases where people start talking about, कि इतना टाइम जाता है अभी तक कुछ नहीं किया कुछ सजा नहीं हुई 8 साल हो गया 10 साल हो गया बट ऑल्सो इन आवर इंडियन लॉ अनफॉर्चुनेटली और फॉर्चुनेटली इट प्लेस बोथ द वेज इट इज लाइक 10 गुनहगार छूटे लेकिन एक बेगुनहगार को सजा ना मिले सो दैट इज द प्रिंसिपल एंड दैट्स द रीजन व्हाई इट टेक्स सो मच ऑफ लॉ सो मच ऑफ टाइम इन ऑर्डर टू एक्चुअली convict someone and then punish him and all of that. So when we're speaking about rape is dealt with by section 375 of the Indian Penal Code and not less than 7 years or maybe for life of imprisonment it is there. And also this is general if rape happens in a general scenario, but if a rape is done by a public officer in the position or in the capacity of him as a public officer, then there is a different kind of treatment and there is a different kind of punishment that happens to this individual. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? So we spoke about so we spoke about when the girl was born, her right to education. Then we spoke about her the eve teasing that may happen to her, the rapes that may happen to her, or some possibilities, right? God forbidden, none of us have to go through such situations. But if any, not just us, but if somebody from our closest thing goes through it, we should be aware of what needs to be done. The next right for a woman, then once she is educated and all of that. Once a woman is educated, once a girl is educated, what does she want to do? Take up a job. So right to equal employment is another job. You will not say that no, you cannot get a job because you're not a girl. Of course, there are people who advertise, because there are certain kind of jobs where you would prefer a man to be there, because you yourself as an employer may not like to send a lady to go and sit in somebody else's office if that is the nature of work for 10 hours, 15 hours and all of that. So in that kind of scenario, you may say that, it is better I hire a male for this job so that I will feel comfortable that the man is, while sending the man anywhere out. So that's a different story. That is again, you're seeing from the perspective of a woman. But you cannot say that, you will not be otherwise for jobs like if it's an accounts job or if it's an HR job or any other thing, you will not say that you're not be going to get this employment because you're a woman. Subtly, people say a lot of things. Subtly or even directly, people advertise also that, for this we would prefer a male candidate, or for this we will prefer a female candidate. But again, they're just for that one position. But then they will not make a general rule that in our organization there will be no female employed. Then that will become a major issue, and they will have to really, really face consequences under the Indian Constitution. So right to employment, likewise, when employment comes, wages come, salary come, right to equal wages. Two people on the same position, just because she's a woman, she cannot get lesser salary. Okay? Lesser salary can come because of lack of experience or, lack of education or lack of skills, but it cannot come because of gender. Okay? So that is another right that a woman has. Now, when I'm speaking about right to education or right to employment, right to equal wages and all of that, this may not really be a separate act or something like that, but these are the rights which are given to us very, very beautifully by the Constitution of India. If we read the preamble of the Constitution of India, it clearly speaks about equality to all beings in the country. So when we are speaking about all, I'll just read that one sentence. Okay. So we, the people of India, have solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, that is social, economic and political, liberty of thoughts, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity. Now they're not saying, when they're saying equality, it is equality to everybody. So man, women, everybody fits into this. Okay. So that was about that. And then stopping rape, we've spoken about. Okay. Very important issue, and this is one issue which keeps coming up very, very often. And a lot of people have to go through this. That is right to ancestral property. Ancestral property, property जो हमारे बाप दादा ने बनाकर रखी हुई है, whether it comes from our father or father's father or father's father's father, 3 generations. So it speaks about when you speak about the law, in the law it talks about 4 generations, okay, lineage. And previously it was that this right was not coming to the girl by birth. It was not coming by birth. फिर वो succession के through आ सकता था. उसके लिए बहुत बड़ा वो procedure करके फिर वो शायद आ सकता था. But today the right to a daughter or a girl, female child in the family comes by birth. जितना right the male child of the family has on the property, उतना ही the female also has. Okay. So the daughters are given equal co-partnership rights as the son, as given to the son. They can become a co-partner by birth. By birth, they can become a partner in that property. Okay, उनका हिस्सा जो बोलते हैं, that has now come to them by birth, which was not there initially. So this is another one right that we speak about. Dowry, शादी करते हैं बेटी के तो dowry का कितना, it's a big huge thing. For us, we don't really realize about all of this, but you never know, we keep saying that ये सब चीजें तो गांव में होती है, but you really don't know from where, what mentality people will come and suddenly this thing. So if anybody who's giving and taking, both, also person who's giving is equally responsible. So we have to be very mindful about this fact, aware about this fact, that it is not just the person who's taking, but it is also the person who is giving dowry will be punished. And it is a non-bailable offense. अगर किसी को अरेस्ट किया जाता है, उसको बेल नहीं मिलता unless the matter is heard in the court. Imprisonment of not less than 5 years and fine of up to 15,000. अभी sometimes people say 15,000 क्या है यार, कोई भी देकर निकल सकता है, लेकिन वो इज्जत के धज्जे जो उड़ते हैं वो एक दूसरी बात होती है. उसकी अगर किसी को चिंता हो तो वो नहीं करे ये सब एक्टिविटी. डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस, पति मार रहा है, सास पीट रही है, ननद ये कर रही है, वो कर रही है, all that is there also. So that is dealt with again by the Indian Penal Code. These are all criminal acts. Now, fundamentally, I mean, basically, very, very basically, if you look at law is categorized into two broad categories, very broad. One is criminal and one is civil. So this property and all these things that we are speaking about will come in the civil, but all these things about domestic violence, e-teasing and all. So that's the reason why I'm speaking more about Indian Penal Code. To be honest, more laws that are applicable to women will come from the criminal background, because how is a man and a woman different? Only biologically. Okay, so biologically and a little bit of emotionally, a little different treatment has to be given to a woman, and that's the reason why we will see most of the laws that are there, or most of the sections that are there, are in the criminal laws and not so much in the civil laws. Okay, so domestic violence, when we speak about, again, domestic violence is treated under the Indian Penal Code. Section 498A of the Indian Penal Code talks about cruelty. Now, cruelty can be cruelty by husband, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, anybody, father-in-law, anybody who is a relative of that of the husband. If they treat the women in a different way, then they are punishable with imprisonment for the term of 3 years, and they can be also liable for fine. Okay. Now let us थोड़ी काम की बात करते हैं ना. नौकरी धंधा करते हैं तो थोड़ा नौकरी धंधे की बात करते हैं अभी, है ना. ज्यादा टाइम तो यहीं पर बिताते हैं, घर पर कहाँ रहते ही कहाँ है कि कोई हमको वहां पर हैरेस करे, या सेक्सुअली हैरेस करे, या मेंटली हैरेस करे. So a girl joins organization, like I said, equal right to employment, equal right to wages. But again, biologically she is a little different. Once she gets married, there's a possibility that she would want to become a mother. And hence the Maternity Benefit Act is something that comes in very, very handy for a woman. So, before proceeding on her maternity leave, if the woman has worked for at least 80 days, which comes to around 3 months, in a particular organization, that organization becomes liable to give her maternity maternity leave. And this maternity leave till 2017 was for 12 weeks, which is now doubled. It has become for 26 weeks, more than even double. It's become for 26 weeks now. So previously they used to say that out of the 12 weeks, 6 weeks could be before pregnancy and 6 weeks could be after pregnancy. Now what used to happen, or what typically happens, is ladies don't want to go on leave so early. So most of them are working till the day they have actually delivered. So they consume all the leave later on. Now with the amendment that has come, it has become from 12 weeks to 26 weeks, where they say at least maximum of 8 weeks they can take before the delivery, and rest of them can be utilized after the delivery. Okay. Now, so this is there. This is a pay with leave, and while calculating this with leave, your basic daily wages, average daily basic wages, is something that is given to a woman during this period of her leave. Any questions so far?
But this is not applicable to the private companies.
Of course, it's applicable, because we
It's
private
started also,
companies.
but in our companies are the same. Since 6 months now.
Since 17 onwards, 2017.
अभी वो 17 तो अभी कोई गया होगा पर
We missed the boat. But that is only a basic salary.
basic salary.
Basic.
So coincidentally, it so happened that this client whom I'm working with, basically it's a father's company, but she's working there as an employee for so many years and all of that, and they didn't really have a proper HR structure and all of that, and so they hired me to set up all that their HR departments and all the policies and all. And then I was telling her that now it has become, and coincidentally, she just delivered a couple of days back. So she's like, "Oh, so I'm going to be the first one to take these 26 weeks of holidays." I said,
So
"Yes."
as of now, men's how many days they are getting leaves?
No. Parental leave is not there.
Paternity leave is not defined in the maternity benefit. So companies
It is
take a
not in
privilege.
India, I think.
Yeah. So companies take a privilege, or they like to they take a privilege of saying that
We have
our company, yeah,
4 days.
our
We have 4
company
days.
gives.
Yeah.
Paternity
It depends
leave.
on
So it
company
depends.
to
Some
company.
companies give 1 day, some give 1 week, some
Either you
give
have to
3
be
or
in
4
Facebook.
days.
They can give you 3 months or 6 months, which is
So you can fight for equality.
In Facebook, my friend was working in US. I don't know
Okay.
what about here, but for paternity is also there, and
Yeah.
they're so flexible that you can take whenever you want.
Right,
But it is country specific.
I don't know. So
Even
that's what I'm
though-
saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. about
Their
India.
laws would be in India. We currently don't have a law which would talk about paternity benefit.
Yes. Yes.
But companies, a lot of companies these days have started these practices. Also about maternity leave now here, this is binding. This is as per the law that they say. But there are so many companies which are giving leave beyond this. I just again and again I'm talking about the session that we had on the 3rd of March, because it was really a very wonderful session in which we were speaking to corporate leaders, women leaders, and there was one of this panelists who spoke about how they have designed their maternity leave in the organization, which extends to almost 2 years. So so initially it's a maternity leave. Then they have flexi timings. Yeah.
Flexi timing.
Then they have
Yeah.
flexi timings.
TCS
that
has
is-
this.
Then they have work from home. Then they start with work from home.
Citibank and all those.
Then
They have it.
Then they start with come to office for 3 hours flexi timings.
Come
for
at
3
12 and
days.
go at
For 3
4.
days a week, and then flexi timing. Then 3 days a week fixed timing. Then every day a week flexi timing. Slowly, gradually they increase this, and it's for 2 hours. I said, thank God I'm not working as a HR manager, because I had all my ex-colleagues sitting in the audience. I said, thank God I'm now not working as an HR manager for this company. Otherwise, kal hi demand aata. That lady said like that. Why are you not doing it in our organization? So as a good practice, as a best practice, lot of organizations are incorporating a lot of things. But by and large, this is what is given to women, and I would personally feel that this is enough. 26 weeks of leave is enough. Beyond that, once you start staying at home, your kids also become used to it. Of course, you need to have a good sort of support at home. It's very all right for me to say, ye itna enough hai, nahi hai. Perhaps I had that support. So everybody who has a support, I think, should move out quickly, and make the baby independent and make yourself also independent. Because otherwise, then we speak about equality, ना वो थोड़ा सा कहीं तो misfit लगता है कि हमको सब कुछ चाहिए और फिर भी हम बोलेंगे या तो वैसे. So that's about maternity benefit.
I'd like to add one thing, because you are already
Sure.
there in this. When you say the equality, people don't want to take the women in the roles which are there. So I have seen a people who are very modern and everything, but they have a big team under them, but they don't want to take women.
That is there. Lot
So,
of people have.
Yeah. So, and some people, if they got it, they don't know how to handle it also. So, because you are already in this line, what I have seen the missing in the companies are the manager levels. There's no trainings how to deal with the women if they are there, how to appreciate, and still whatever the problems or whatever the daily, you can say the requirements of women are, then still you appreciate their work and still
Yeah.
take in your team. Those type of some trainings if you give might help in long.
Yeah, but there are organizations who indulge in these kind of trainings, and
Yeah,
they're there.
so
See,
maybe-
these are all soft skills basically. But you know what? ये कितना भी training दो and all that, ये inner तुम्हारा inner nature वो वैसा होना चाहिए, mindset.
See, again, we have not the changes which we are seeing today is not the changes we have started yesterday.
Of course.
So these are
You're right.
the changes which are being started long
Perfect.
back.
Perfectly
So
right.
at least maybe I'm just thinking because when I talked to them, I was shocked. One or two people I really
Yeah,
got
yeah,
shocked.
yeah.
Because as such this, when you talk, they are modern, they respect women,
Yeah,
but they
yeah.
don't want to work with women
They don't want to work with women. It happens.
because for them they see is a difficult.
Yeah.
They have to handle, they have to do little more. They are
Yeah,
already having so
yeah,
many problems.
yeah,
Why to
yeah,
take two
yeah.
more problems?
Correct,
They
correct.
think as a women as a problem for working.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
they will be having a.
Sometimes, women themselves are also responsible. Sorry, women, you always say that this lady is just, bombarding on us only. Sometimes women themselves are also responsible. छोटी-छोटी बातों पर रोना, अरे, what is this, यार? I mean, you have to become emotionally strong. Emotional intelligence should be really, something that is your baki ka intelligence just goes down the drain if you're not emotionally intelligent. And that's the reason why also people, men, what you're saying, those who you're saying, maybe also thinking, यार ये रोना धोना चालू हो जाएगा टीम में, मैं थोड़ा 5 मिनट बिठाऊं और तो बोलेगी नहीं मेरे को घर पे जाना है, 5 में मैं कुछ बोल दूं तो रो पड़ेगी, and that's the reason why maybe men are also thinking like that.
I fully
So,
agree
yes.
with you on this point.
It happens sometimes, I have been lucky enough to work with a lot of women in my this thing, and I've always told my women the first thing is that we have to be very strong. Huh? Nobody can dare to look at us like as a weaker section, or or you sit and you cry in front of someone and all that. Not at all. ऐसा अगर कोई एक बोला तो तुम 2 बोल के भले आ जाओ, उसका कैसे सॉल्व करता है वो मैं बाद में देखूंगी, लेकिन वहां कोई कुछ बोल दिया तो रोने का वगैरह नहीं. And I think we have to also teach our daughters to be that this thing. My daughter is doing a fashion design. She's now in the final year, and so currently she's towards the end of the course, and she's really stressed with all the things that they have to do, their final project and all of that. So every day she will text me a message, and she will crib about something or the other कि आज मैम ने ऐसे बोला, वो यही नहीं कर रही है, वो ही नहीं कर रही है. So I just tell her that relax, that's not the end of the world. You're just going to begin your career now. All this is not really going to matter. Your teachers are going to bully you because they're going to bully you not with the intention to bully but to make you stronger. If you're going to sit and cry like this, you will not be able to face the world at all. So that's how we have to start making. But that could be one reason why guys also avoid having women in the team.
Maybe.
So I think we have to train both men and women together.
Yeah.
Is-
That's
has
also.
to. But sometimes men are also, certain men are slightly insensitive also. So I had a boss, one of the bosses of the several bosses that I had. What he used to do is, he used to come to work thoda aaram se, and I have worked under my CMD for 13 years in my organization. So I was like, I used to, रात को भी अगर मुझे सपने में भी वो आए तो मैं खड़ी हो जाती थी टाइम. Because when you're working for a CMD and when you're working in the head office, I always tell people it's not very easy to work in the head office. Huh?
Correct.
People think it is very, वहाँ पर कुछ नहीं होता, सिर्फ धमाल मस्ती होती है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. It's very difficult to work over there. So I was used to this, punching on time and all that regularly. So वो थोड़ा आराम से आते थे, which is all right because then he used to sit back also late. And what he used to do is, he used to leave the office around 7:38 in the night. And he used to sit in his car. We are traveling by what all Ghoda gadis, and I was in Pune at that time, and rickshaws and somebody's bike and all of that. And he will start calling. And then he will call you for 40 minutes, 45 minutes to take the report of. And we were 3 such people reporting to him. So sometimes, maybe your number comes first and he will call you and then you're done at least till 8:15. Sometimes your number will come at about 8:45 and then it will go on till 10 o'clock. But you as a man, you have to be sensitive towards women's other needs also. So these are, so it's a two-way thing, Sometimes it is this way or the other way. I think now we are also in the process of having some bill passed or something about not to disturb
Yes.
employees after working hours. So,
That is not yet passed.
no, they're in the process. It's passing a bill is a huge process. It's a huge thing. I would say.
But at least getting a bill is a big thing.
Yes, at least thinking of it, it's a big thing,
Because these are
Absolutely.
the things which are there in the developed countries like Sweden and all those, not even in the US also.
Yeah, yes.
So do we have any law for working hours?
Yes, there are. See, the Shop and Establishment Act, it speaks about working hours. But unfortunately, most of you all may not be coming in the category of.
Of course.
8 hours.
Yeah, it's 9 hours basically,
9
48 hours per week.
Yeah, that
48 hours. 48 hours per week. So that is what is prescribed by the Shop and Establishment Act. Similarly, by the Factories Act for factory workers and all of that. All of that is there. But like I said, we don't really fall under the category of workers and we don't fall under the category of skilled laborers and all of that. So it's slightly. Yes.
It's manufacturing sites.
Yes. So, and today's era, most of the organization, we take pride in saying, no, I'm to 24/7 kaam kar rahe hain." And even we ladies also, we take pride in saying, no, we are superwoman. I think that superwoman should soon become a, sort of a taboo or something like that. Where, superwoman किसी को बोला तो उसको गाली लगनी चाहिए. Then we will slow down. Otherwise, now we are like everybody, each of us are in the quest of being known as a superwoman. अरे मैं वो भी करती हूँ, वो भी करती हूँ, वो भी करती हूँ. किसके लिए करते हो यार? किसी को पड़ी नहीं है. तुम क्या करते हो, क्या नहीं करते हो? Actually. लेकिन हम करते हैं. हमको अच्छा लगता है और जरा सा तारीफ की जाए हमारी तो हम तो बाप रे जाकर अभी जैसे ऐसे हो जाएगा कि जैसे हम अभी एवरेस्ट पर ही जाकर चढ़ जाए.
But I feel today's generation, young generation, like my daughter is now 22 years old, so her thoughts are different. Means they are very clear what they
Of
want
course
to do.
they are
But
very
for me,
clear.
हाँ, शादी भी करनी थी, ये भी खाना भी बनाना है, work भी करना है, so it is all everything.
very
then you are
right.
stressed.
You're-
But I think
You're very right.
Yeah,
Your kids with my kids are of the same age. They'll ask, who's asking you to do that?
yeah, exactly.
हमने बोला था.
Yeah.
You order no from outside.
Yeah.
Now the cook is not coming. Don't crib.
Different.
Correct.
Don't crib. We don't want. हमको चाहिए ही नहीं घर का खाना. किसने बोला करने को? मंगाओ बाहर.
Smart enough. They are very different.
Uber Eats. Yeah, Uber Eats. रात को 12 बजे Uber Eats आता है.
But they are different, but they are emotional. They are
Yeah.
not just practically saying that you
Yeah,
order from
yes,
outside.
yes,
They're thinking
yes.
about your mother.
Yes,
that is what- that is
Yes, I agree with that.
Yes,
I agree with
yes,
that.
right.
And that applies to both girls and boys. In fact, boys these days, I feel I have both. So I can vouch and say, I just hope my daughter doesn't listen to the video, otherwise she'll kill me. But boys, I feel, have become more sensitive these days
Exactly.
towards, and they have become more emotional.
Yes.
Boys are more sensitive towards
Mothers
Yes,
and
yes.
yeah, so because my son will be constantly worried about where I am, what I am doing. So the moment he sends a message to me, I understand that he's slightly worried about where I am. So I have to reply to him and tell him that hey, I am there, I'm all right, nothing is wrong with me. So that is there, but we have that, our generation at least, we have always been wanting to be known as a superwoman, and I don't know where we are going to take those certificates and tags. No, but I think we need to slow down now. So we come to the last part of our this thing, which is I will just tell you a story, narrate a story, and then we will move on to that. So in the year 1992, there was this lady called Bhanwari Devi. She was a Dalit lady who was working for the Rural Development Program of the government of Rajasthan. So 1992 maybe, ladies were working. Rajasthan is that way known as a little, not that much progressive state, right? But so this lady, she was working on the Rural Development Program. She was actually working as a social worker, which means for a social cause. She may not be working as a social worker, but for a social cause. And her cause was abolition of child marriage, which was really, really very prevalent in that state, and even now today it is still there. So she was working for this cause, and because she was working for this cause, she was brutally raped by her employers. That is the people working in the government, because she was working on a government project. Okay. So then she was not given justice by anybody or anywhere. Even when she knocked the doors of the Singh courts, she was not given justice. And all this was observed by one NGO called Vishakha. So Vishakha is an NGO. When you speak about, a lot of times you will hear about it. वो Vishakha का matter, वो case था उसका, that act है वो Vishakha का case. So Vishakha is not a lady, but it's an NGO. So this NGO, they then fought for the cause of this lady, Dhanwari Devi. They went to the Supreme Court, and in the Supreme Court, they made an appeal against the state of Rajasthan. And that is the time when the Supreme Court bench, they actually decided to have guidelines, and those guidelines were known as Vishakha guidelines for women working for working women. So how should they be treated? What are the do's and don'ts with them? If any problem arises, what is it that they should be doing? What are the reliefs that they would have, and all of that? Okay. But they were just guidelines. No, who wants to follow them? देखेंगे कुछ होगा तभी हम तो सिर्फ अभी भी वैसे ही behave करेंगे. So it went on and on and on and on. So then there was another case that happened. Apparel Export Promotion Council versus A.K. Chopra. So this person must have done. Then in this case again, Apparel Export Promotion Council was held responsible for not giving proper treatment to women in their workplace and all of that. Yet nothing. It was realized that the guidelines are followed, but not really followed to the T. It was still, misused and all those kind of things. Then there was this one lady, Medha Kotwal Lele. She and there were other ladies also. These are all social workers basically, who again moved the Supreme Court. And then that was the time when Supreme Court decided to draft a bill. They said कि ये सिर्फ guidelines देकर कोई फायदा नहीं है. Guidelines are not adhered to. क्या होगा? Contempt of court होगा ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा. Okay, contempt of court हो सकता है because court ने guidelines दिया है वो तुमने follow नहीं किया. Contempt of court हो सकता है. उसके आगे नहीं कुछ हो सकता. So then Supreme Court decided that now it is high time we have to see to it that the bill is drafted. So in 2007 they started drafting the bill. The bill was passed in 2010. Okay. Again in 2012 there were some amendments and certain things and it was again reintroduced. In 2012 the bill was passed again, first in Lok Sabha, then in Rajya Sabha. It's all the process. Okay. And then I believe in 2013, yes, the president finally, after it's passed in all the houses and all, the president has to give his assent, and then that's how it becomes an act. So in 2013, finally, it became an act, and the act is now known as
Posh.
the name is that we call it, but in a colloquial way. But it's known as the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. And then it is known as POSH because Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, and POSH wo word bada POSH lagta hai, so we all started using that. But actually it is known as Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace. Okay. So now we will actually talk about what is sexual harassment. I said in the Indian Penal Code when we use the word, I said we're going to deal with it in POSH, so let us not talk now. So what is sexual harassment? How much more time do we have? At least half an hour?
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
So what is sexual harassment? What does it include? Anybody who can tell me what according to you is sexual harassment? Physical, of course, trying to touch any private parts of a woman, or, trying to be a little sort of very cozy in a very intimidating way, and all that is there. Apart from that, what else can be sexual harassment?
Is it a bad language?
Bad language, of course. Verbally also you can harass a woman. It's not always physically. Even verbally you can pass certain remarks which are derogatory, and that can become sexual harassment.
Might be the expressions.
Expressions, of course, yes. Expressions.
In act also.
Yes. Act could be physical or anything. physical, verbal, non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. So the Act defines it as sexual harassment includes unwelcome, sexually tinted behavior, whether directly or by implication. कोई बोल सकता है मैंने किधर कुछ किया, यहाँ बैठी, I'm sitting here, a man is sitting there, and he is looking somewhere else and doing certain things. He cannot say that I was not looking at you and doing it. If I'm here and if you're doing certain things which I feel your behavior is tending towards sexual abuse, it is sexual abuse. Okay, whether directly or by implication, such as physical contact and advances, yes. Demand or request for sexual favors. Okay. Promotion चाहिए? आती है क्या? Happens. There are, see, it may not be happening in our organizations, but there are people who have gone through, faced, suffered all these kind of things. Okay. Making sexually colored remarks, like you said, bad language or that. Showing pornography, sending, all those kind of dirty videos on your WhatsApp or any of that. Or on the video, बैठे हैं तुम लोग laptop, you're sitting to do some work and suddenly some dirty video pops up. That's also. Or any other unwelcome physical, verbal or non-verbal conduct of a sexual nature. So if this happens, it amounts to sexual harassment. And now we are speaking about sexual harassment only at workplace. Okay? Not outside. Because this act, it only covers sexual harassment that has happened in your workplace. Okay? Circumstances that may amount to sexual harassment. Now these are, the first what we spoke about were actual acts. Now there are certain circumstances also which may amount to sexual harassment. Implied or explicit promise of preferential treatment in her employment. Sometimes you understand, कि ये भाई इतना क्यों मेहरबान हो रहा है मेरे ऊपर. हाँ मेरी कलीग तो मेरे से ज़्यादा काम कर रही है लेकिन ये मेरे ऊपर ज़्यादा मेहरबान हो रहा है. It happens. It may not happen here, but we should also be able to tell our daughters tomorrow that you have to learn to identify these things. Yes. Implied or explicit threat of detrimental treatment in her employment. If you don't give me sexual favors, I will see to it that you are chucked out of the organization. I will see to it that your salary will not rise. I will see to it that you don't get promotion. Interferes with her work or creating an intimidating or offensive or hostile work environment for her. बार काम में उसके दखल देना in a dirty way, in a manner. See, women that way, biologically only we have that intuition. We are more intuitive. We have that sixth sense that we say. We can make out a good touch and a bad touch. Even a small girl can make out.
Yeah.
So because sometimes our daughters would also come and tell us कि आई नाही आवडलं ते असं का ते अंकल हात लावत होते. It has happened in our. So that way. Humiliating treatment likely to affect her health or safety. बार किसी को insult करना, वो करना, that is also, now that may not be for sexual thing, but it is harassment. It amounts to her because physically that lady is draining. Okay, so बार तुम उसको अगर कुछ insult कर रहे हो, उसका वो कर रहे हो, so that also will amount to sexual harassment.
1 minute, insult and harassment, work-wise you mean? Insulting.
Work-wise.
Not any remarks as such. But
Yeah, remarks also
all the time-
regularly if it is happening. If somebody is just regularly, you all are sitting for lunch, there are 5 people and somebody is just passing these remarks. That also can amount to sexual harassment. So guys also need to be
Emotionally
trained on this.
putting down.
It's emotionally putting you down, pulling
It's
you
not
down.
related to your physics or something like that.
But emotionally that lady will also get drained out, Because what is this? Every now and then if once in a while it happens, then it is not such a major thing. But if it is continuously happening, then you can understand you should be able to identify what has been done purposely and what is. Some men have the habit of humiliating everybody. Or even some ladies.
Humiliating, how does it become as sexual or is it as insulting?
Mental harassment
Mental.
also amounts to sexual harassment.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Mental
Clarification.
harassment also
Mental
amounts to
harassment also will come
Yes, amounts to sexual harassment. So, and it is not just the men. Sometimes women also have
Women
this
also
habit
do.
of just humiliating everybody. But then there would be this one woman who's humiliating everybody, or there would be this one man who's humiliating everyone. Then it cannot really be that he's doing it just in order to pick you up and do something. Okay, it is in general his behavior, which can be dealt with in a different way. But when we are speaking about posh or sexual harassment at workplace, then if it is directly inclined towards you or related to you or affecting you, then that becomes
Pointing one person
pointing
and putting the
thing to
comments. Yeah.
Sometimes it may not be one person, it could be 2 or 3 ladies also to whom. It happens in certain organizations, it may just happen that a guy is trying with all 2-3 ladies here. It's not SAT. So then all the 3 would be facing sexual harassment, not just one amongst them.
Yeah.
So what is it that needs to be done in order to prevent? Because this act, sexual harassment of women at workplace, it talks about prevention, prohibition and redressal. ऐसा नहीं है कि बस वो होने तक राह देखो और फिर उसका कुछ करो. So we nowadays, even if it is health wise, we speak about prevention first, right? We will see how we can prevent cancer. We will see how we can prevent any kind of other virals and all of that. Similarly, this is also viral. So why don't we prevent it before it actually happens, or prohibit it from happening? So what is it that needs to be done basically? First and foremost, awareness programs are mandatory. In every organization, once in a year, there has to be an awareness program of POSH to everybody, so that people are aware of what are the do's and don'ts. Sometimes, certain men may not really be doing it intentionally. उनको समझता ही नहीं होगा कि ये मैं जो कोई कुछ कर रहा हूँ, it can amount to sexual harassment of a woman. So training, as you rightly said, but you said training in a different context, but these
This
trainings
also
are
is.
also very, very important to be given. Awareness has to be created that there is this kind of
slang language. Yeah.
Hmm,
It can be considered in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So both are different. What she's
Yeah.
saying is right.
Yeah. So that kind of a training, creating awareness amongst the people, that is one thing that has to be done. Every organization which has 10 or more people and 10 or more people in every branch needs to have a internal complaint committee. Okay? There needs to be an internal complaint committee. Every employer is required to constitute an internal complaint committee at each office or branch with 10 or more employees. Okay? The internal complaint committee has the power of the civil code for gathering evidence in complaint against sexual harassment. Just say if there's a civil matter, they will call for evidence, they will want you to come, they will summon you and they will want you to come and actually provide. In civil matters, mainly documents and all those things are something that evidence is asked for. Similarly, the internal complaint committee is made so powerful that they have been given this right of collecting evidence. If there is a matter that comes up if there's a such case that comes up in an organization, nobody can deny the internal complaint committee from giving an evidence. They cannot say that I will not come, I will not be present, I will not provide evidence. That is not done.
What's the suggested composition for this?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. Internal complaint committee. So first and foremost, it needs to have a presiding officer who is a woman employed, senior level women employed from the workforce. Okay. Then members there have internal and external members. So first let me speak about the external member. There has to be at least one woman from one person from an NGO or an association which is working for a cause of women, or who is from the legal background, or who is familiar with human rights basically. Okay, so this is the external members, and in internal members it has to be not less than 2 members from amongst the employees. Okay, and preferably these members should also be aware of rights for women, and they should be trained on this sexual harassment act, the POSH act that we are speaking about. So total in all, it has to be at least 4 people, but suggestion is always that there should be an odd and even odd combination. Okay, so it could be 5, and not less than half of the ICC members shall be women. Okay. So if you have one internal woman as presiding officer, if you are taking the external
Not
person,
less than half shall be.
shall be women. So if it is 5, at least 3 have to be women, and because this act is basically for women, so that empathy and that understanding will come more from the women fraternity. Okay, and the term of the ICC members shall not exceed 3 years. So after every 3 years, you need to have a rotation.
Rotation is okay.
Rotation is okay. Yeah, rotation.
It doesn't need to be everybody needs to be changed.
No. Rotation is okay. A minimum of, now if it's a small organization, from where are you going to get people?
Correct.
A minimum of 3 members of the ICC, including the presiding officer, should be present for the inquiry. If there's an inquiry that happens, if there's a case that happens, then you have to hold an inquiry, which can be in the organization. And while holding the inquiry, then you'll have to have called evidence. The lady can come and first talk if she has anything to show, like we'll be speaking about sending of these porno films and all of that. If she has that, she can send that, or any other evidence. Or if she feels that there are witnesses, she can also request the committee that there are witnesses, and the committee can then summon the witnesses to come and talk what they have observed, what is it that they feel. Then of course chance is also given to the man or whoever has this thing, for him to come and present his case. So for this committee, whenever the meeting happens, at least 3 members from the committee has to be present. Otherwise, the quorum is not full. Only with 2 people, the meeting cannot go ahead. Now, organizations which are smaller, which do not have 10 people, even there's a possibility that sexual harassment may happen at workplace. So for them, there are these local complaint committees. So typically, if you go to this labor court areas, they would have, this complaint committee office, where people can then go and register their complaint, just in case if there is no proper place in the proper committee in the organization. So what are the duties and responsibilities of the employer? First and foremost, to provide safe working environment at workplace. See to it that prevent any such things from happening, rather than then facing all that inquiry and all of that. Display of penal consequences of sexual harassment. So on the notice board or some places, you should be actually having sexual harassment is prohibited, and if it happens, then these are the consequences or these are the things. Organize workshops and awareness programs. That's the reason why I said let us also talk about this act. So one wo bhi awareness bhi sort of ho jata hai. Provide necessary facilities and information to the internal committee for dealing with the complaints and conducting an inquiry. Very often within the organization also there is lot of negligence, and there is no support provided to the internal committee also to conduct this, because mili bhagat hoti hai lot of times in the organization. Sometimes this thing can maybe also against the senior-most person of that place and all of that. So it is necessary, it becomes a duty to provide for proper facilities, arrange for those kind of meetings, assist in securing the attendance of respondents and witnesses before the internal committee. Respondent जो है, that man, अभी वो ड्यूटी पे है, हम लोग अभी उसको भेजेंगे नहीं, ये नहीं चलेगा. अगर कमिटी बैठी है, he is supposed to be there, you have to send him, and he has to give his whatever statements and his evidence and all of that. Provide assistance to the woman if she chooses to file a complaint and initiate action. मुझे कंप्लेंट करनी है, नहीं कैसे कर रहे हो तुम, कंप्लेंट मत करो, ये नहीं हो सकता, and all of that. No, she has the right to do it. Treat sexual harassment as a misconduct under the service rules and initiate action for such misconduct. So in the service rule itself, it is better to have what is the penalty that you would be giving to this person. 1 महीने की सैलरी काटेंगे, 2 महीने की सैलरी काटेंगे, ये क्या कर देंगे हम, dismiss कर देंगे, or maybe you will be out of work for 1 month, 2 months, whatever you feel is the best for your organization, incorporate it in the service rules. So that then you don't have to then think of abhi iska kya kiya jaye. Monitor the timely submission of report by the internal committee. Internal committee agar बैठी है, बिठाई गई है, so it's the employer's responsibility to see that the reports are being generated and given to the proper authority at right time. Complaint mechanism. What is the complaint mechanism? How can you complain? So if a lady who's faced this harassment, she has to submit a written complaint in 6 copies, okay, with her name, address, witnesses if she has any, to the ICC, that is Internal Complaint Committee, within 3 days from the date of the incidents, okay. And if it is a series of incidents that is happening, then 3 months from the date of the last incident that has happened. Beyond that, 6 महीने बाद, 1 साल बाद अगर तुम बोलोगे उसने तभी मेरे को वो किया था, gone. That limitation period is over. Yeah, 3 days from the last date. Okay. If the woman is not in the position to write the complaint, because sometimes mentally you become really very sick or physically you become sick, then her legal heir can make this kind of a complaint. If a woman is physically incapacitated to write this complaint, then who can write a complaint on her behalf is her relative or friend, her co-worker, an officer of the National Commission for Women or State Women's Commission, or any person who has knowledge of the incidents can write it. If she is mentally incapacitated, then again her relative friend is there. A special educator is a person, or a qualified psychiatrist or psychologist is somebody who can write, because she would be definitely going through some kind of treatment. Because if she is not able to write it, then she has to provide, or her legal heirs have to provide a certificate saying that she is not in the situation. And in that situation, who will provide a certificate? A psychiatrist or a psychologist. Typically a psychiatrist, okay? Or a guardian or authority, anybody, any of these people can actually make a complaint to the ICC. Okay. So what happens once this complaint is made, वो inquiry वगैरह हो गया, immediately क्या होता है? Interim relief क्या मिलता है to that lady? During the pendency of an inquiry or written request made by the aggrieved woman, the ICC or LCC, whatever the case may be, may recommend to the employer interim measures such as transfer of the aggrieved woman or the respondent to any other workplace if that facility is available. वो जो lady है जिसके साथ sexual harassment हुआ है उसको, या the guy who has done the sexual harassment, either transfer one of them to any place, grant leave to the aggrieved woman for a period of 3 months. These are the 2 interim relief. Immediately वो बोलेंगे before we decide कि ये guilty है कि नहीं है, वो सब decision होने के पहले immediately you take this step, is what the internal committee or the local committee will tell. Now, prove हुआ. Either ways, it can be proved either ways. ऐसा नहीं है कि every time, like when I started only I said that because we have all these acts, we should not take it to the disadvantage of someone, because we also have got brothers and sons and fathers at home. Okay? So if it is proved, if the accusation is not proved, if that person, the allegation is not proved, then the lady also will have to face consequences. Okay, but we will first speak about what if it has been proved. If it arrives to the conclusion, if the committee arrives to the conclusion that the allegation is proved, then it shall recommend to the employer or district officer the following things. First is punishment prescribed under the service rule. So service rule में इसका punishment, anybody who's handling HR or admin over here, you're handling, you are from
Next.
Okay. And for your
Our HR
Singapore.
Singapore. They are in Singapore. Okay. So they would be having, or if you all have a talk with them, I think for your India office or something, it is better that you make this kind of a recommendation. Okay. So because first punishment would be that from whatever is there in your service rule. Okay. If the organization does not have a service rule, then disciplinary action including written apology, warning, reprimanding, censor, withholding promotion, withholding the pay rise or increment, terminating the respondent service, undergoing a counseling session, or carrying out a community service may be enforced. Now, depending upon how serious that sexual harassment was. Okay. And to deduct the salary of the accused is a sum that is considered to be appropriate compensation to be paid to the aggrieved woman or her legal heir. So basically, the punishment you have to decide. That power has been given to the employer. So the employer has to first fix what the punishment is going to be. And it is always better that people know, then तो चाबुक भी लग जाता है how to behave and how not to behave. Okay.
We have actually a business conduct policy.
Okay.
Under that this harassment is
Is there? No, it is covered. No. Then good.
Ethics
Hey, go
line.
for it.
Ethics and-
Ha, ha, ha. Then good. Very good.
If
No
anything is
problem.
there, you can call on that line. Talk to HR.
Yeah, that is there. But also if you can recommend, make a recommendation that under this act it is it is good to have our own set of punishments already prescribed just in case this thing happens.
We have an internal committee which is set now in last 2 weeks ago. So she is the presiding officer for that.
Huh.
Yeah. So it's internal complaint.
Internal
complaint. Internal complaint.
Internal complaint committee.
ICC, which she's talking about.
Yeah,
ICC,
ICC.
what she said.
Yes. Yeah. So if it is proved otherwise, if the woman has done a false complaint, she also has to face all these punishments, any or all of these punishments. Okay. Yeah. So let us be mindful about that fact. Okay.
And when we see sometimes that employee has filed the case or something to the employer itself for this, they sue her. Well, outside, I don't know if it is allowed in India also, right? For the whoever was the boss who had done this misconduct, and they
No, but
file the case.
now with this act coming into force, the court will only divert them to the internal committee.
Gotcha, first.
And if the
But
internal
what
committee is
actually
not there,
the employee, the lady is asking the money from the employer rather than just the person. Like they sue it for $1 million, $2 million that this thing happened at your place, and I should get that money.
no, but get money for what? Because I'm sexually harassed.
Yeah.
The moment she makes this claim in the court, the court will divert her to the
I see.
internal complaint committee, because this has been taken so seriously now that the courts don't have the right to interfere in this matters.
Or suppose the lady is not, or think about that whatever the committee is not able to justify, give the justice to her. Then what?
She has a right to go to the local complaint committee.
After that.
After that, she'll have the right to go to the local complaint committee. She can go there and she can. So compensation. Now, when we're speaking about compensation, how is it? And I said that you'll decide in the service rule itself. What should be the punishment or something. So on basis of what are we going to decide compensation? कि 1 महीने की salary काटनी है, कि 4 महीने की काटनी है, कि उसको क्या करना है, उसको 50 साल तक increment नहीं देना है, वो कैसे decide करेंगे? So while deciding that, you have to take into consideration the mental trauma, pain, suffering and emotional distress caused to the aggrieved woman. वो क्या है, किस हद तक she has suffered that. Loss in career opportunity. उसको मिलने वाला था increment 10,000 का per month. She's not got it because of this foolish man or whatever. So वो that has to be taken. If she has gone through some real physical and mental trauma, then medical expenses incurred on her psychiatry treatment and all of that. The income and financial status of the accused. That also you have to see. बंदे के पास पैसा नहीं है, क्या बोलोगे उसको 10 लाख रुपए दो, तो वो भी देखना पड़ेगा. And whether such payment can be done in lump sum or in installments. ये सारी चीजें देखकर, see, it is always better to be realistic than being in a world of fantasy and then nothing comes through. Okay, and फिर वो हो रहा है, लंबे जा रहा है, खींचा जा रहा है, it doesn't make any sense. So if we think if the committee feels that the complaint was not true, it was false, frivolous, then like I said, the woman will also have to go through disciplinary action and all of that. Okay, she will also have to give written apology. She'll be given warning. She can be reprimanded. Her promotion can be withheld. Her increment can be withheld. She can be terminated from the job also. Because these kind of women can really be toxic to the company. Okay? And even witnesses who are giving false evidence. सब मिलके उसकी बजाते हैं यार. सब मिलके उसकी बजाते भी होता है, पता है ना, कभी जेन्युइनली होता है कि सब मिलके उसकी बजाते हैं, लेकिन ऐसे जो जेन्युइनली बोलते हैं ना, उनमें हिम्मत ही नहीं होती कि आगे जाके कुछ करें, जाने दो, होता है। लेकिन वो वैसे अगर हो फॉल्स विटनेस, सेम पनिशमेंट अगेन। Okay, so any questions?
So whatever you said now, that cover mental harassment also.
Yes. Sexual
Somebody
harassment
is-
covers
Somebody is
mental
bothering
harassment.
for my work or
That is mental
he's
harassment.
passing the wrong comments about me, so
About
I
your
can
work.
complain.
Mental harassment. That is mental harassment.
Mental harassment.
But you know, in those cases, you need to have witnesses.
Yeah.
Without
But the
witness, you
same
cannot.
incident will happen with, I mean,
If it
happening
happens
with the
With other colleagues, more the merrier, they say, no, वैसे है. If it's happening with other colleagues, then definitely you have witnesses.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it is very difficult
Yeah.
to prove, because you have to prove your case there. And in this case, there cannot be evidences as such, documents or something cannot be.
Phone recording.
Phone recordings हो सकती है. Yes.
No, but you can.
But phone recordings are the evidences that now when you said, I realized are the evidences that women are really using these days in this matter.
Because it can't
I-
happen face to face. no?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
facility is also
Yeah.
there na, nowadays.
And most of the Android, I think.
Yes,
I don't
and
know.
also video, your WhatsApp messages.
Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, that's a
Those are
thing.
also, yeah, that's a written thing. So these are the things. So evidence होना चाहिए, because otherwise how will you prove that mental harassment हुआ था मेरे साथ?
Just for an example, somebody is saying me, just leave the job, just leave the job. Is that cover under this mental?
If it is happening too much, and when you know that you are working in your fullest capacity, and if the person doesn't have a proper reason to give you leave the job, it will be mental harassment. It is.
What was the question then?
No.
No, what I'm saying, I'm just
But she
saying.
has
No,
answered.
Maybe you have asked some question and the answer is leave the job. Then maybe, no, listen. What I'm saying, that whatever, suppose
Yeah, might be.
you are asked, you got something and you say, no, I want more.
So
Instead, she's saying, whatever, if this is the thing I can do, if you want more, you can leave.
That is why
That's
no,
what I'm saying.
now
that
Yeah.
is
So-
the point
So,
where
So,
there
yeah.
is a discussion.
see, see, it may be mental harassment. She may be thinking it is mental harassment, but ultimately she has to convince the committee, no, that it is
Yeah.
mental harassment.
So,
Yes.
so that's why I'm saying before going, just see what was the
Of
question
course,
also.
of course,
Yeah.
of course.
But that is correct.
That is a different
But
scenario.
that may be just once, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes.
And one time nobody is going to go through this process.
Hey, Baba, you do this. You're not fit for it.
Yeah.
Go away. Then that
Oh,
becomes a
then that becomes a habit.
That becomes a
What
he
he's
was saying was a
that is
different
also
thing.
correct, and whatever she
Yes,
said, that
obviously.
is
What I understand what you are saying is
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Different.
Different
Correct. That's
situation.
so very
He is telling me the scenario wherein some
I
discussion
understand,
is on
I
and
understand.
She is saying
See,
if every weekly basis or
Honestly
fortnightly basis,
speaking-
if somebody is telling
Honestly
you,
speaking, there have been instances, I have handled HR for 13 years. There have been instances where I have also given these remarks at times कि भाई अब इससे ज्यादा नहीं हो सकता, अगर नहीं तुमको परवड़ रहा है तो प्लीज जाओ,
that is the different case.
मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकती, ये मेरी कैपेसिटी में मैंने फुलेस्ट किया है, या तुम्हारा जो बॉस था उसकी कैपेसिटी में उसने भी फुलेस्ट किया है. So these are the
This is the
statements.
different scenario.
Yeah.
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 We are not talking about that.
we are not
This
talking
is
about
like
that.
work regarded. You've been putting your best to it.
Yeah, so that's what, so I answered her
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
That
But
will
still
happen.
somebody keeps so nagging
So
behind.
that question I think I
Yes, it's
answered,
answered.
yours,
Yeah.
right? That question of hers I answered, but sometimes this also happens.
That is means I agree with that.
Yeah.
You
And
are
sometimes यार काम इतना नहीं कर सकते, इतना नहीं कर सकते, पर हमारी भी तो मजबूरी है, हमको
Yeah.
भी किसी को मुंह देना है, वो वैसे भी
Yeah.
situations होते हैं.
Yeah.
But of course all of this it will differ from case
Case to case.
situation to situation, situation to situation, और gravity of the situation decide करने के लिए the internal committee is formed. If they feel that it is appropriate, they will make a remark and send it to the local committee which is above them. And if they feel that no, it is not really right, they will send it that way. But good, we had this discussion. Any other questions? Because we are otherwise, from my end, we are almost towards the end of the thing. Any other questions?
But from
that we have?
HR point, I just want to check with you. This posh points, what are coming under this? Do we need to put it somewhere in the office?
No, see, these kind of awareness programs need to happen
Okay.
annually, and only what is a penalty that has to be consequences that has to be put on some notice board or something like that.
Okay.
And I think this posh
You can
the
also-
review is mandatory also. Everybody should know, I think, as per the law.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Awareness is
Yes.
mandatory. Awareness of this act is mandatory.
Yes, so but nobody trying also didn't do it.
Yeah. So, is
Yeah.
there any
Yeah, it's always
presentation
first
or
time.
article
Yeah.
wherein which we can share with the team, like
Yeah.
about this? What are the things coming under this? So, people may not. I mean, now he said they may not know about it.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
if using
absolutely.
this language, or we know only ethics things like
Right.
using slang language
Right,
or using
right.
any hurting
Right,
things
right.
which is not used in office.
See, on the internet
Certain
also
things,
you
But
will get
that
lot
is
of
also
things
depend
that
on
is-
the relationship. What relationship you are carrying with Chaya and carrying with you. That will make
Absolutely,
sense.
and what happens is that is why I'm saying sometimes relationship ऐसा होता है कि you're speaking. Sometimes you are in that kind of a relationship where purposely ऐसे कि जा यार छोड़ के
हाँ,
जब क्या
that's
क्यों
what-
कट करती है, and then suddenly and you have given this privilege to the man to talk like this with you all this while, and then suddenly one day you say no, this is now a mental harassment. That is wrong.
Right.
But all this is something that then the man can actually go and speak, because he'll also be going and speaking to the internal committee, no complaint committee. So in his this thing, he can also take 2 witnesses and say कि देखो वो इनको पूछो क्या होता था, कैसे बात होती थी, then suddenly ये कहाँ से आया आज,
Right.
वो भी हो सकता है. In that situation, at the most the internal committee will warn the person that henceforth be careful. Okay. शायद उसका थोड़ा काउंसलिंग करेंगे और छोड़ देंगे. काउंसलिंग इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द रेमेडीज,
Right.
तो वो हो सकता है. So it is ultimately the internal complaint committee who has to decide. So whoever is making the complaint should have real good evidences, and whoever has to face the consequences also the respondent, that is, should also have real good evidences in order to go and present your case. So it's all about evidence.
And I also like that point, na, कि we have to educate our brother or our son.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
we
one
have to.
of my friend, na, her son is 9 years old, and what she is saying, मैंने आटा गूंदा है, you come and खुद की रोटी खुद बेल के खाओ. Because कल को तेरी वाइफ आएगी तो she should not complain कि आपने आपके बेटे को क्या सिखाया.
You know
Nowadays
what?
girl are asking this question कि
You
क्या
know
आपने
what?
आपके बेटे को
I
सिखाया.
make my son do more work than what I make my daughter do.
Yeah.
I do it. As a point, I do it because I know my daughter has to go and then she has to do.
Yeah.
So whenever he also says, no, ती तर काय नाही करत, मला सांगते, so I say, ठीक आहे रे, तिला नंतर जाऊन करायचं, तुझी बायको येईल ती करेल तुझ्याकडनं. But you should also be used to. Tomorrow I don't want your wife coming and saying, कुछ सिखाया नहीं है, ऐसे सिखाया and all that.
We are talking about the equality, ना.
Yeah,
So अभी
of
जब
course.
पहले बच्चा born होता था ना तो सिर्फ माँ ही करती थी
Yeah.
everything. For my case, my husband helped me in everything.
Yeah.
वो रात को बच्चा उठता है तो
हाँ.
भी that time उसने उसको संभाला. Like that equality का question is now from the men's side also.
Correct.
They are also now balancing.
It
the
is,
things.
awareness is there in
Yeah,
the
awareness is there. So nowadays that.
Now I don't think so. Anybody has done those many complaints
No.
which were 20 years before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the metro.
Yeah, of course.
From the metros.
नहीं.
No, in the metros.
Small towns
there are
also it is
people.
there.
In the metros also there are people who
Yeah.
still are like, that's the reason, that's what I was the other day. I had this session on women empowerment where we did one session on grooming. You said that I should brief on that also. So one session we did on grooming. And they were all ladies only. And we had 2 panel discussions. One was by corporate leaders, women leaders, and one was by women entrepreneurs. So when I did my inauguratory speech to all of them, that's also another thing that I said, that we also have to be mindful. Ladies as ladies also have to be mindful about what we are thinking, how we are doing. Because like I said, in the society, वर्किंग वुमेन, अरे उसकी माँ तो जॉब पे जाती है ना, वो कहाँ ख्याल रखती है अपनी बेटी का, वो उसकी बेटी तो यहाँ वहाँ घूमती रहती है. आई रिमेम्बर I am 53 today, okay? So when I was not married, this must be about 30 years. 30 years I've already been married. So when I was about 15, 16, 17 years old, I had a working mother. She had run her own school, a very powerful, strong lady. So one day one of the ladies in the building came and said that, आपको तो पता भी नहीं रहता आपकी लड़की दिन भर करती क्या है. My mom turned around and said, मुझे पता रहने की जरूरत भी नहीं है, मैं उस पर ट्रस्ट करती हूँ. And that statement of hers कि मैं उस पर ट्रस्ट करती हूँ is fit into my brain so much that now even if today I do something, you know, she is no more, I feel अरे यार मैं उसका ट्रस्ट तो तोड़ नहीं रही हूँ वैसे. So we also have to be, you know, very firm with our own daughters and what we talk and how we allow people to bully them. लोग तो बोलेंगे ही,
Yeah.
लोग तो बोलने ही वाले हैं. हमको सोचना चाहिए कि हम कितना लोगों को बोलने का मौका दें.
Nice.
So that way.
And we discussed that point also, na talking, word, na.
Hmm.
So last month only that incident what happened. 9 years girl ko, that girl was observed by some gang.
Stalking.
Yeah.
Stalking. Yeah.
तो ये वर्सोवा में केस हुआ, तो they have followed her till her home and the school also.
है ना? हाँ. Yeah, that is for
Recently, last 2-3 weeks.
it's very
So that case was filed in Oshivira
Oshivara police station.
police station.
Okay.
So nowadays this is also happening.
As society is progressing, as world is evolving, more and more sections will be incorporated, more and more acts will come, laws will happen.
Most importantly, that girl only spotted that. And
Spotted. Very good.
that
She
is
was
more
lucky
very-
enough.
Yeah.
She's lucky
Because
enough.
the kids are very smart.
Yeah. So, anything else?
You said that you have made one video on your son.
Huh. The
Can
Me
you
Too
please
one.
share
Yeah,
it with us?
I'll just after. But I don't have.
Is it on the YouTube? You are-
It's on YouTube, but
We
yeah.
are projecting the project.
But I don't have net on.
password.
No, you can use.
Yeah, you can.
Wi-Fi.
No, no, she cannot use.
Wi-Fi.
She cannot use.
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi, na? Wi-Fi I can use, no? Okay. So we are done with this?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So now I will
Yes.
show you that video. Thank you very much for being a wonderful audience. If you all need anything, if you all have any questions in mind, you can always contact me and speak about it. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thanks.